Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on Thursday, January 26th. LA Galaxy get through their first preseason scrimmage. Yeah, it's a scrimmage. It's not really a game. 3:30s were played. The LA Galaxy come out victorious. We'll talk a little bit about that in as much detail as we can, being it was closed to the media, and apparently they were very, very stingy on the details. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about Jalen Neal and, of course, Dejan Joveljic making their debuts with Serbia and with the U.S. men's national team. Dejan's been with Serbia before, but we'll talk a little bit about that. The guys were at the beach a little bit. We're going to give you a little bit of a look into some of the rumors. Remember that one rumor we were talking about? Yeah, that one went away. And sort of looking at the LA Galaxy's roster as well. Plus, in about 20 minutes, actually in about 15 minutes now, we're going to be joined by Damian Calhoun from the LA Daily News. He's going to join us to talk a little bit about what Greg Vanney said today in his press conference and his media availability. To help me do all that, the Hammer is back. We're glad to have him. It's Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira. Eric, how's it going, buddy? You hanging in there?
I'm hanging in there. I noticed, some sharp, listeners in the chat. Notice we're like a minute behind, so nothing gets past these people. We're having some technical difficulties. My video's choppy, so my audio's not working. It's like I haven't done this in a couple weeks. But gone for a little bit, and then it all goes sideways.
You have to stretch a little bit, work out some of those kinks. It's probably Texas. They're probably not allowing you to talk about the LA Galaxy right now. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's going to be the weather. It's all the snow and the freezes that happen out here.
I can't relate. We had rain for a while, and now it's just windy today. So
I heard about that. You guys had your 2 weeks of rain, and now you're done.
No, yeah, I mean it is supposed to rain. Over. I think on Sunday and Monday. So if that makes you feel better, it's a whole deal. Can I start this off in a weird way? I feel like it's important.
The LA Galaxy is very weird right now. So but why not?
I had a dream about Greg Vanney last night.
Okay, let's maybe not go that far.
I think it's important. I don't know what exactly was behind it. Maybe you can help me try to decipher this dream in particular. So the dream starts with me talking to Greg Vanney, and he asked me if I can clean his shoes, right? Because apparently in this dream, I'm a shoe cleaner. Like I wasn't offended. It wasn't like, wow, I can't believe somebody asked me. No, it was like, oh wow, I get this opportunity. I need to do it well. Have you ever seen like those YouTube videos where people like clean shoes or stuff like that, and then they bring them back? Yeah, okay. So
it's very satisfying. Yeah, if you're not following a cobbler or two on TikTok, you got to check it out.
Yeah. So anyway, they're like, can you clean these shoes? Absolutely. So I take off, grab these shoes. Right, I go in and I try to find a place to clean them. Right, obviously I'm at the stadium because why wouldn't I be at the stadium? Right, so I went into all the luxury suites looking for places to clean shoes. Very frantic, can't really find it. Always rushing. I get the shoes clean, and now I'm supposed to meet Greg Vanney in section 235. Except I can't find a section 235 in Dignity Health Sports Park. And this went on for like me waking up and going back to sleep and waking up and going back to sleep like 3 or 4 times. Is this the Galaxy running out of time? That's what it feels like. It feels frantic. Like there's not enough time to get all this stuff done, and I have to find Greg Vanney to give him back his shoes. Otherwise, he can't go and coach the team.
Yeah, that sounds right. I feel like I've had those type of dreams where you're like always running, waiting for that whatever the event is to happen, and then it never happens, and you're just in that endless loop. So I could very much relate to that, and the fact that you're so heavily invested in the Galaxy and following Greg Vanney and wanting news. And we were even talking before the show today, like, it's kind of a light news day. The Galaxy are absurdly quiet, in transfer news and updates and, transparency with what's going on with, the clean out and the supporters. So it's just kind of crazy right now. So yeah, it feels like we're running out of time. The season started, we had games, so that we're already behind. We don't quite have a full deck yet.
No, and it feels that way. It feels like there's not a full deck. $2 super chat from Philip. He says, in my dreams with Vanney, he plays with 2 up front. I imagine he's talking about 2 players up front and not something else untoward. So Dejan Joveljic and Chicharito up top, although that certainly sounds, arousing to some, I'm sure. Absolutely, especially the way that Dejan played a little bit in the friendly. We'll talk a little bit about that friendly coming up. Eric, reminder, 30 days now. 30 days until the LA Galaxy will play against LAFC at the Rose Bowl. The time is flying. And, when I'm looking at the roster, and I even made some adjustments today to my roster to sort of show some things, and there's some news that came out, and we're going to talk to Damian about it. But the bottom line is there's 30 days until the season starts. Now, certainly last year and years prior, right, sometimes Greg Vanney would sort of be like, I need to have my DPs in before this year starts, right? They have to be in.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Did you call him Granny?
Greg Vanney? Granny. That
Granny,
must be it.
Is that where we're going with now?
Yeah, that probably is. Rebecca, by the way, gave us a $5 super chat. And she says, and I hope I'm getting it right, she says, the Galaxy giving me and Eric that Gaston and Martine content at the beach we love to see. Did you see some of those pictures?
Yeah. I don't know if, I feel like whoever's posting on the social media team listens to the show, and they know that we are all about the Gaston content, and Gaston flusters me and you and a lot of our listenership.
Yes.
But yeah, they're posting him with the dyed hair and at the beach. Some people pointed out that Ricky, of course, would be the guy at the beach with socks on and the and the joggers on. But if you know, because the true ballers, like if you knew the kid in high school who balled, or that kid who was quiet, they'd always wear the Adidas track pants with socks. They were always ready for any ball to drop, for anything to go down. So that's how Ricky's a baller. But of course, the little Top Gun moment with the boy hanging with the boys at the beach there. So
playing with the boys. Although the new Top Gun also has a very good beach scene. I'm glad that they that was such a take you back. Service. Right? Yeah, of course it was.
They knew that had to be in there. People they gave the people what they wanted.
Yes, they did. So no. It just really it's scratching my head right now. I don't get it. You've seen the departures. I mean, I can tell you that the Galaxy really only have 6 spots to fill, and maybe it's even less than that. Maybe it's 5 spots to fill, and you figure that there's 2 real moves. I feel there's going to be 2 significant moves. And then the rest are going to be ancillary. There'll probably be 1 decent backup, and then 2 to sort of fill out the roster, right? So that could be draft picks. Whenever you're thinking about it, it could be somebody like Ferrai Mutatu. We'll see. Damian likes to be kept up on the Ferrai news, so maybe we'll get Damian to talk about.
Yeah, I saw he also had a Gino Vivi update. So you don't see that's the name. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot we drafted a winger that could possibly slot into that role. We didn't think about it, but
that's what always happens. Guys come out of college and just start on MLS teams as wingers, right?
Yeah, I'll need to ask Damian, where is he on our Nacho Maganto meter? Like, where does he fall as far as guys to watch out for?
Is he more Nacho or more Maganto?
Yeah. Like Nacho Supreme?
Exactly. We need to figure out that stuff. Mr. Provino, trust the process and tank for the super draft. I love tank for the super draft. That's one of my favorite ones. Absolutely. Galaxy playing DC United. So we have a little bit of news from that. There was not much in the way of updates. As a matter of fact, if you watch DC United, you probably got a little bit more like in-depth stuff at first. They were the first ones to put stuff out. The Galaxy sort of followed up with the 3 goals the Galaxy scored. By all accounts, this is the best account, and the first account I saw it from Rodrigo Serrano. He said LA Galaxy 3, DC United 2. It was a preseason match with Ricky Puig, Efrain Alvarez, and Preston Judd scoring for the home side, and the videos played that out very well. So that was what you got for the LA Galaxy. One of the DC United goals, I think, came off of a corner kick. And then there was another goal that I can't remember if I saw or not. But, overall, what we heard was the starters played about 60 minutes, quote unquote starters played 60 minutes. So the first, we told you there were going to be 330s in there. So the quote unquote starters played for about 60 minutes in there. And then they let some guys clean up at the end. I imagine Preston Judd at the end there was part of the cleanup crew and doing some stuff, but he did a lot of work. Chase Gasper with a good pass and some good things. I mean, I watched the goals. The goals aren't bad. I'll take those goals any day, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and Efrain Alvarez on the score sheet makes you feel good. Ricky Puig on the score sheet. Efrain, once again, is this his sixth breakout season?
Yes.
That we're
this is the year
to watch.
This is the year. I think we should make a T-shirt that just says "This is the year."
This is,
and then you could just wear it every year, and it could be. It'll eventually be right.
Yeah, eventually you'll be right, or he'll be the year on a different team. But do you know the scoring breakdown on how? Because my question is with Efrain Alvarez and Judd on the score sheet is, were they the garbage time? Were the starters down to and we don't know. We don't know that.
Yeah, no, I don't think. From what I could tell, it looked to me like Efra was playing with more of the starters. Whether or not that was a switch somewhere in there was probably. But you would expect for him to be playing the starters when the LA Galaxy have. Let's see. Last time I checked, no real wingers. And so that's certainly a big one.
Which to that point, the Galaxy is truly testing their fan base, because last year we were saying, obviously, the boos for Cabral and Grand Sur was hit and miss. We liked the effort, but the output from Grand Sur was not there. And so we're like, okay, you don't like these guys? Here, they're off the team. So now what? What's the backup plan? Now you see why Cabral was getting those starts and why Grand Sur, was getting, because they were the only options. Because you now see without them there, it makes you really pause, and especially with 30 days left. I'm really nervous about the season. As much as I liked how the Galaxy closed out the season, the off season has just been a little too quiet for my liking.
Yeah. And quiet rumors wise. I mean, bottom line is this, that if the LA Galaxy are interested in somebody, that rumor usually gets out. Especially if it's an international. And we imagine that the LA Galaxy right now are fishing for internationals. So it wouldn't surprise me that, you would start hearing rumblings about things in France, certainly in France, because that seems to be one of the only countries. But in other places, you would start to hear rumblings about the LA Galaxy. There was a fake LA Galaxy rumor out today that quickly got dashed and was sort of linked to the noisy neighbors across the way. You and I were talking that they have like 7 forwards now, 12 forwards, 15 forwards maybe. But the only to sort of compile that with, the LA Galaxy don't have any wingers. And so that's sort of the thing. And I understand not being panicked, but I don't know that it being this quiet is a good thing. I also don't necessarily, and to be totally fair to everybody, I don't know that it's a bad thing yet either. They could sign 2 players tomorrow and all of a sudden you're sort of right kind of where you need to be, right?
Yeah, and to you, I don't know if you made this point when I was on the show or with someone else, is that this also could be a sign of Greg Vanney, sporting director. If he's the one running the ship, when he's in charge, there's no word getting out. So maybe when other people are in charge of dealings, those loose lips kind of let things slide out. So it could be that. Maybe we're giving them too much credit there, because like you said, if there's an agent with an overseas player and they want to leverage that. We saw that with the rumored player that was, scheduled to come to the Galaxy, or the Galaxy had a concrete offer. Was that true? Was that not? But the agent definitely wants that information to be out there, that the Galaxy has a concrete offer. So it's one of those things. Okay, you can give the credit that, Vanney is running a tight ship and not letting any rumors squeak out. But at the same time, or is it the other side where maybe the big and we're at a point in the season with the January transfer window coming up, the big names are already gone, already have destinations set. So that's another thing that's kind of concerning. You see with Luis Suarez, we have a second forward in Dejan Joveljic, who's most likely not going to get starts. So Luis Suarez, obviously wasn't going to get those starts as well if you have Chicharito as your DP, but he's already scoring goals for Gremio. So it's just kind of interesting that the big names are gone. The other names are kind of trickling through, but we're a lot of, Tom Bogert is doing all his updates, but the Galaxy just seem to be absent from the conversation, which is it's a little scary. But to your point, that could change in a week. We could wait for maybe those things are in the works, and we know those things take time, and maybe by this time next week we're saying, okay, the Galaxy roster is set.
Yeah, it's hard to sort of sit there and like overreact to it because you know how quickly it can change. We've seen how quickly it can change. But with Mavinga and Memo Rodriguez, really the only two additions so far, there's been a lot of departures. There's been very few additions, and so you sort of would eventually like to see that balance out. And I have to feel this feels like Greg Vanney thinks that he is in a good spot, that he has players that he can play with and do things with, and that they understand the system, and that he's not worried about getting somebody in and having to establish a system. He's trying to find somebody who fits that system. And, let's go for the Greg Vanney, proclamations and sort of the way that he talks. He's going to find the right guy who fits the system at the right time, and it's all going to come together. There is some, and I would say there's some added urgency, obviously, and he understands that. But there's also some added nervousness from Galaxy fans. There's nervousness around the club because there is no makeup in the summer. There is we'll just wait. Let's sit and let's see what happens and let's see how we play and let's see there is none of that. It all has to come together in this primary transfer window. Super interesting from that standpoint, just trying to figure out, sort of how all of that stuff comes together. But eventually, it's going to be up to Vanney and it's all on his shoulders right now. He is the sporting director. It's up to him to fill these positions. And so we don't know if they're being turned down. We don't know. And I certainly asked the question about, the Galaxy's image. Has it been tarnished with this cheating scandal? Is it tarnished with the fact that now there's a boycott going on? I mean, there's a lot of things that make this not a great place to want to come to right now. And the uncertainty is a lot too.
Yeah, you make a great point about people wanting to come in with the boycott, with the scandal. Like, is this something, that a player given the option, that they, that they want to walk into? The other thing that we want to consider, and I think Vanney's changed his tune slightly, is that last season he was talking about wanting to get someone in on time, wanting them to have a full preseason, and then you see the Douglas Costa signing. And then we look at it in retrospect and we say, maybe that wasn't the best signing. So the other side of the coin is, okay, maybe we don't want to rush to bring someone in. Maybe we do want to take your time and allow that player to present themselves, or allow everything to kind of work itself out. So that's, maybe preaching a little bit more patience on that regard. But the biggest wrinkle is the suspension and the sanctions that you're not able to. We can't wait till summer. The moves, in the next 2 months. Need to happen. We're going to start playing some real games for real points here real soon, and so that's the thing that's a little bit scary. And the other added thing, and we hate to say it because it really is the thorn in our side, is there's another club in Los Angeles, so it's not the Los Angeles being the draw. You have another team, with a championship under their belt that, if you're a free agent or if you're someone who is on the fence, it could look more appealing on the other side of town.
Yeah, you could certainly see that. Well, let's take a little break from all of our sad and woes, and let's bring in a man who was at training today, talking a little bit with the guys. We're happy to have him on, as always, Mr. Damian Calhoun from the LA Daily News. Damian, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. How you guys doing?
We're hanging in there, and it's not too bad. It was. I have to ask sort of what the mood was at training today. We saw some videos that came by, and Greg obviously asked about the boycott and those types of things. But other than that, does he seem nervous? Because there's 30 days until the season starts, and they don't have any players. I don't know if anybody's told him yet.
I don't think he's nervous. I don't know. He might not be nervous, but he did lay out a timeline when he thinks guys will be getting in here.
Mm-hmm.
He sort of like everybody knows everything's a work in progress. He added that there are multiple things going on, and he expects in the next week or two to start, getting some guys in. He said he has a couple primary pieces that they're targeting, and they have some more depth pieces they're trying to bring on. So yeah, it's what is it? 29 days now from the start of the season.
So I count the day that it plays as a day. So it's 30 days technically. But yes, you're right. 29, 30 days. We always get into that argument. But yeah, 30 days. You're a month away. That's it. And it's supposed to be Rose Bowl. It's supposed to be packed. And you would imagine that any primary target would add to the advertisement for that game. I mean, it does feel like everything's closing out very fast, and Greg doesn't seem like the kind of guy who panics. You think that's fair?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. He also pointed with the close of the window in Europe. I think that's middle of next week, I believe.
Yeah, it's closing fast. I know that.
Yes, it's closing fast. He pointed to that too as a date, not really as a deadline, but as a date that they have targeted. That I guess they know their guys, what they're targeting, and they're trying to close them and get them in.
That was really interesting. You also had another update on there. You were talking about Sega Coulibaly. What news? By the way, this is welcome news for LA Galaxy fans because so often we get asked this question. But what can you tell us about Sega Coulibaly?
Yeah, Greg told us that Sega's been away. I'm not sure how many days, but he's picking up his green card.
There you go. So that will remove him from an international slot there, which is something the LA Galaxy were 8 of 8 before Sega got it. So now they have 7 of 8 spots currently booked. Do you think that there is a renewed focus on getting guys green cards? You and I have talked about this many times, I know.
Yeah, I mean, somebody actually sent me a message today. Is that a way they could go? I think it has to be a way you can go. I mean, if you would think of guys who are going to be here a while, I mean, the next guy I think of is Joveljic. Yep. He's going to be here. What was he signed up? A 5-year deal, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. Actually, I can look that up while you talk. I have my contract thing right here, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's one guy I think that could probably probably end up getting one, and that could get you another spot there. Because I don't know if they're going to need one to sign the draft pick, Gino Vivi or not. And then there's the Ferrai thing that's still going on. So who knows?
I was going to ask because we only get asked every single show, and I was going to ask if you and I tend to be the people who pay attention to the Ferrai stuff. I know you were out there. Did you get any more Ferrai updates?
No, last week. What was it, last week or maybe the week before? He thought they were close.
Right.
Today he didn't really seem they were close. He said he's asking his people upstairs that are who's dealing with that stuff, and they don't have an answer yet. I did ask him one day, when you get him in, what would you expect out of him? And that's something I'll probably have when he does get in. But once he gets in, I don't think he goes straight to the first team.
Right.
I mean, he's more like probably a G2 guy for the season or whatever. But they want to get him in, get him acclimated. Because he hasn't really played. I don't think he's played like a game or like been in a game setting in probably a year or so, maybe longer.
Yeah, it's been a while since that kid was around for sure, and he was one of the preseason standouts as thing goes. Any other big news? I know you gave some other updates on Chris Mavinga and him starting to train. Is there something going on with him, or was it just him getting to LA?
Yeah, I think it was him just getting in. I know before they played DC United, they thought he was getting in. What day was that? They played that game Wednesday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah. They thought he would be in middle of the week, but now Greg said he's probably toward the end of the the weekend. Right. And he should be in Monday.
Okay.
To go. And then you bring it back, you bring back Jalen Neal, you bring it back Joveljic. Greg said that next week he'll probably be like the first time he actually feels like a training camp. I mean, guys been away, guys been out. Johnny Perez is on his way back.
Right.
Adam Saldana joined. He's back. He actually played in the scrimmage the other day. So yeah, he thinks the next week is like the first week that it'll look like a real training camp.
It feels almost like they're running out of time. Eric, did you have something for Damian?
Yeah, what's going on, Damian? It's Eric here.
Hey, how you doing?
You mentioned Gino Vivi, and so I was kind of joking with Josh, like where he lands on the Nacho Maganto meter. I know you have an injury update, but is he going to be more of a G2 guy, or is he someone that Vanney has talked about possibly getting first team minutes? Where is he going to land? Likely on this Galaxy team.
Yeah, I don't think he's a G2 guy. I mean, he's a college guy, so he comes in with that experience. He had a good start, Greg said, but then he came down with like a toe injury. Mm-hmm. They're checking him out now. I think they had an X-ray and they're doing an MRI. Man, it's tough because these draft picks, you never know what to expect. Yeah. But talking to Greg, he said that they're scouting. They scouted him. They talked to coaches who played him, his coaches. So I think they knew what they were getting. So how do you factor that into an MLS season? Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I don't think he's a G2 guy just because he's been in college and he played with the Costa Rican under 20s, I believe. So he comes in a little bit more experienced. But like you said, they're going to play. If everything goes well, they're going to play maybe close to 50 games away, or maybe more. Yeah. So it's one of those pieces. Yeah, one of those pieces that, if he stays healthy, he could see some first team minutes this year.
Yeah, not without any wingers. That's why, and right now it's like one of those. Like they're not playing 50 games if they don't get their primary wingers in. But VV is a winger, right?
Yeah, he is. One thing Greg did tell me that in that preseason game, they played Julian up top a little bit as a winger. So I don't know, something to keep your eye on.
That feels like a Giassi Zardes at right back move to me. Like I mean, clearly Julian Araujo and Raheem Edwards can play wing backs, right? I mean, that's an easy enough transition, but forcing Julian into that spot is not something I don't know. I don't think
We've seen it work. We've seen it work with DBS and against LAFC. We've seen Araujo in that role work. So it's not that insane, especially with the depth right now.
Yeah, he said that he moved guys into different spots, and one spot he brought up was Julian playing up as a winger. Didn't have a lot of body, so I don't know who else could have played somewhere else really. So
yeah, that's I know Carson Klein has been up playing with the first team too. I mean, it sort of goes to the lack of bodies I think that are sort of in there right now. So maybe we'll sort of see some things develop. I know he was asked about the boycott, Damian. What'd you make of his response? Because certainly I think almost everybody here has probably heard of his response. What do you make of him having to answer these questions?
I think with Greg, he answers pretty much anything. I don't think he's really not answered anything like no comment on anything. I don't think. I know one time he told me I was there to ask a question for something else, and he said no, he had no comment on that. But no, he's the coach, sporting director, or whatever. And I think his answer was everybody wants to be on the same page. How do you get there?
Yeah, the multi-million-dollar question right now. How do you get everybody on the same page? Yeah,
and him answering the questions. I mean, maybe. I saw some stuff people are saying, but he's going to answer things. I don't think he's not going to shy away from the answer. So I don't know.
It's a touchy one, isn't it? It's a really interesting one. Did you see anybody around the training? Last training, I know Chris Klein was at least around whenever I was in the stadium and stuff like that. Is he still hanging around? Did you see any signs of him?
Last week they were on the track and field stadium, and I saw him walking back by, I don't know what that access road that leads back toward the front. He was on the phone.
Yeah.
Then I saw him today. He was on the phone as well. So one of these days when he's out on the phone, I'm going to pull up on him and ask him a question or something.
I know. It's definitely one of those. The good news is they're always staying busy. They're always on the phone, so we know.
Yeah, I don't know if they're talking to anybody or what. It's like the other day with the U.S. Ernie Stewart walked through the mix zone on the phone. It's like, is he talking to somebody? And then today we see what happens. So
that's the Pete Vieira special right there.
You got to zoom in on the lock screen to see. Yeah, is there another call there, or is this a wallpaper? Yeah, what's going on here?
Very good.
Exactly.
Anything else that sort of stood out at training? Did you get to did you talk to any players today?
Not today. They were going off as I was coming in. I know probably next week we'll probably get some because that's the first really real preseason game, I believe, next weekend.
Yep, February 4th.
I did talk to Julian a little bit, just he was standing around and he was talking about, the hard stuff of preseason camp is over.
Right.
He said they did a lot of running, to get ready. He said the hard stuff is over now. So that's pretty much all of our conversation there.
Very good.
Man, that's about it. Javier walked off, spoke to us, walked off. I think that was it.
Yeah, overall, everybody seems like they're in pretty good spirits. The team itself, at least being around the actual technical team, right? So you talk about the players and the coaches and all that stuff. They all seem to be in good spirits whenever I'm around them. That's I guess that's not to be not expected. That you wouldn't expect them to be in a bad mood, but at the same time, they have to. It's going to be really interesting to talk to players and ask them about the boycott.
I think especially I think next week is the first game where fans can actually go and pay to go. I don't know who are really. I mean, what kind of crowd would they expect for a preseason game anyway? But This is still the first opportunity next weekend. So
it's gonna,
I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk.
It's going to be you and me, Damian. We're going to be the only ones there.
Hey, easy to get in, easy to get out of the parking lot.
Yeah, never ask a reporter whether or not they mind the crowds or anything like that. We're like, no, in and out. The faster we can get in, the faster we can get out. I certainly appreciate you stopping by, Damian. Thanks so much for calling in. And I'm sure I will see you here in just a little bit for that first preseason game. But we'll have you back on certainly this preseason. All right.
All right, you guys have a good night.
All right, thanks, Damian. There goes Damian Calhoun, LA Daily News. Damian is great, by the way. I don't know if everybody loves Damian as much as I do, but I love. I have real man love for that man. He works extremely hard. He's gonna be mad now that I said all this with him off. He's like, what'd you say after I got?
Is he still on the line? Yeah.
Yeah. No, he works hard. He does his job. You know, he's very good at not making anybody angry too, which I tend to fail at. So hey, he's really good reporter for what you do. But yeah, it should be interesting. Again, Eric, you and I talked about it, a little quiet. Damian was there, and he's like, "There's, it is what it is."
He made me feel better because he has boots on the ground, and just a sidebar conversation, which is it's what we like to do here.
Yeah.
But if you do follow Damian, he covers basically every single sport in Southern California, high school, junior college, pros. Like it covers. So I was going to ask him, like, how does he do it all, and which high school program should we look out for? Because he probably has that insight.
Oh,
but
he does.
To that point, he was, it seemed like he got the impression from Vanney that there are things lined up. So as quiet as it seems now, as off-putting as it feels, like we're a little bit nervous about what's going to happen. It seems like their ducks are in a row, and that's not a Pato joke. It's just a matter of getting everything to show up. And that it's going to happen. It's just in the works right now.
All right.
So it made me feel better.
Okay, good. $2 super chat from Young Khalifa, Iker Bravo from Real Madrid, Castilla for Young DP. So there's some suggestions. Just throwing them out. Maybe Vanney's listening, right? And he's
why not?
Yeah, why not?
Whoever's posting the Brugman content, pass that along to Vanney.
Keep it rolling. $5 super chat from Raphael. Live call-ins from Panda and Calhoun. Best LA Galaxy podcast. I mean, I know those guys. It's not hard to get them on the phone. Like, we could call Kevin, but Kevin has the vid right now. He got COVID, so he finally got reached out and touched. And so he's been all over the world and he didn't catch it. And
I was going to say 2023. That's what a time to catch it. I was fall 2022 when it finally caught me. I thought I did pretty good, but that's an impressive streak.
Yeah, that is summer 2022 for me. Yeah, July 4th. I caught it in an LA Galaxy game. So Panda's doing okay. I talked to him. He was complaining, but that's normal for him. He was still talking about news today, and he was talking about Ernie Stewart, and he was talking about Claudio Reyna, which is a really interesting parallel and not so parallel whenever you look at like Chris Klein and sort of what's going on with Claudio Reyna stepping down as the sporting director at Austin. It's interesting, Eric.
Well, let's talk about it, because I think that's when I saw that news, it's fascinating to me because it feels like that it's almost it's not one for one, but the Claudio Reyna situation, there was so much controversy around it. There was bad publicity. It was a bit, a bad look all the way around. And his family didn't really come out looking great on it. Whether you think it was, how Gio was treated at the World Cup, whether that you believe that was right or wrong, or that was on Berhalter or more on Gio or wherever you landed on it, the Claudio Reyna situation and his wife and sharing that news at a turn, that was probably the biggest error of them all. And I think that absolutely probably had it had something to do with his resignation. It's like, okay, this is a distraction to the club. It's that those actions are not going to be representative. You needed to take some time for the family, all those buzzwords that you hear.
Right.
But it was an action outside of Austin FC, and he still resigned. And I look at the Chris Klein situation, where the position that he's been in for as many years as he's been in, the lack of success, the cheating scandal, everything that's surrounding it, the supporters groups boycott. They're not going to be attending games until front office changes are made. And silence. He hasn't come out. He hasn't stood in front of it. He hasn't faced the groups. He hasn't made a public comment. There's a great opportunity and out here to resign. He has. We've mentioned this is the thing that we always go back to. He's on World Cup committees. He's involved in U.S. soccer. There's a lot of openings in U.S. soccer right now. There are other pathways and a lot of face-saving moves that he could probably make, and he's not making them. He's staying very quiet, and the Galaxy is staying very quiet. And I think that's, as disappointed as we are in this situation, I think that's almost the cover up is worse than the crime type of thing. Like, right. If we don't have to like it, we don't have to be happy about Chris Klein being the president of the club, but he's the current president of the club. Wear it, almost like be a villain, be the Vince McMahon, like, yeah, I'm in charge. And what are you going to do about it?
Yep.
Like, but do something, but to just hide and wait and hope that it boils over, it just shows, to me, a lack of character. Like, to me, if you make a mistake, get out in front of it, say make a mistake. Or if you're the person in charge, say I'm the person in charge. There are a lot of people probably listening and probably in the chat that don't like their bosses, but they still have to go to work every day. They still have to communicate. They still have to show up to meetings.
Right.
It's like, just the fact that people don't like you doesn't mean that you don't talk or you don't put things in front of it. And we talked a little bit about it with Damian. Greg has now kind of become the de facto spokesperson, but this isn't Greg's mess to clean up. Klein can get out in front of it and talk about it. And another thing that kind of bugs me is the Galaxy doesn't make comment on executives. Well, the Galaxy also hasn't won MLS Cups recently. So you think maybe you want to change that? So maybe you could change some things the way they've been done in the past. There's a lot of things that clubs didn't do before that they do now. There wasn't a universal league TV deal, but there is now. You didn't used to share information about your executives, but maybe, with people clamoring for it and people, wanting to know what's going on, maybe you can make that change just this once to kind of keep people informed and let them know what's going on. So it just seems like the whole situation, it's just been handled poorly at every aspect. And this started with Claudio Reyna, but the opportunity is there for Klein to resign and kind of, find other issues. And this shows someone like Claudio Reyna, who showed a lapse in character and the actions that he did and the mistakes that he made. And he's wearing it. He's saying, you know what, I resign. I'm not going to cause that problem. And Klein has not done that. This is an opportunity for him to say, I made a mistake. I did this wrong, but I want to move the club in the right direction. But I'm going to be your president. Say that. Or say, this is causing a distraction. We now have supporters who are not coming to games. I'm not able to make, executive moves until the off season. This is just too much of an issue to the club. It's bringing the club down. I'm just going to step away. All those opportunities are there. And just the fact that he's not doing it really shows to me a lack of character.
I do have a little bit of inside info that says perhaps you will see an interview, and that has nothing to do with Kevin. I don't want to. I assume everybody would be like, "Oh, Kevin, blah blah blah," but I imagine something will be coming out here. We'll see. There was talks. I was hearing some rumblings that perhaps that he would be giving an interview and doing some stuff. So maybe we do. Maybe we need to hear from Chris Klein and his side of things.
Exactly. I mean, if nothing else. Like, hey, okay, these people are dragging your name through the mud. Defend yourself at least.
Yeah, and I often right now I feel like the show has been very one-sided because of the boycott and everything, and we talk to people who are about the boycott. We discuss it, but there's also nothing coming back from the other side right now, and that was to your point that there's no reaction sort of coming out of the LA Galaxy. Maybe they feel that just being quiet is the way to go, like they were about Chris Klein's contract for however many months and days that it ended up going. So I don't know. I'd love to see the chess match that is about to unfold. We called it a staring contest, and again, that doesn't mean to demean anything. It's just that I don't know who blinks, and I don't know how that works and how that blinks. You talked about. I know you were joking, or maybe you weren't joking, talking about Chris Klein being president of U.S. Soccer on Twitter, but that is a way for him to go, right?
That's what I'm saying. All the pieces are at play, and the thing with the whole Chris Klein situation is, and I'm going to go back because here's the thing to this point. We have a light show tonight. Right. So this Chris Klein news happened 2 weeks ago. If the Galaxy are making moves, if the Galaxy has things happening, this is an old news and we're not rehashing it. But there's no word coming from the Galaxy, so we're going to rehash this Chris Klein thing. I'm going to go back to the statement that the groups, released because this whole thing kind of has me feeling, conflicted. It's that they mentioned that the club is not taking the on-field product as seriously as the off-field product, because it seems like Klein was retained because of off-field things. To me, I see it slightly different. I think that the club is taking the on-field product seriously, but they're bad at their jobs. You have, Chris Klein, who the players, that they've brought in have been unsuccessful for the most part. The roster construction has been unsuccessful. You have someone who was at the caliber of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and you weren't able to put the right pieces around him. Speaking of the Nacho Maganto meter, someone mentioned Emil Cuello. We had Emil Cuello, which nothing, not to bash the guy, but that's the guy who you were going to, someone who's a super draft pick, that's who you're going to surround with Zlatan. So I think if nothing else, the issue isn't, that they're not taking it seriously. The issue is that they're bad at it, and that's reason enough, to be fired or to not be renewed. And so I think that's part of the rub. So to the U.S. soccer piece of it is you don't have to worry about signing players. It is more about ticket sales and sponsorships and having those partnerships. And I think that maybe is a better fit for Chris Klein than the way MLS is moving right now.
I was maybe I wasn't as clear with Andrew when Andrew Alessano was on, the president of LA Riot Squad, because after he left, I said some things, and there, if you've been following the show long enough, I'm consistent in what I'm saying, and my consistency is that I don't think fans should have a say in what players you sign, what coaches you hire, I don't want a front office that reacts to fans, because that's not what the job is. The job is to pick your people and go out and be successful. And in a perfect world, Eric, not even in a perfect world, in most worlds, performance is the judge of that, right? And ultimately, performance takes its toll. We've seen it with Cardinalfo, GBS, Siggy Schmidt, Dennis DeClosa, right? Performance has been the result of some of these things. But what happens, my whole thing breaks down, and this is where, somebody, said basically that I said people shouldn't have a say. In a normal situation, I don't think you should. I want you to be loud, like you should be supporting and all that stuff. But it comes down to, it's like, ultimately, you shouldn't get to pick the next player or the next coach or the thing. Correct. That's why there are people in the front office to do that. That's the perfect world. What happens in the perfect world, though, when performance is not the indicator of that stuff? And I think we're seeing what happens right here, which is why I've always said you're allowed to protest, you're allowed to boycott, you're allowed to do anything you want, however you want to do it. If you want to buy season tickets, that way you're in the stadium wearing a shirt that shows your disapproval every single game, then that's a way to do it. If you want to join the boycott for the supporters group, that's a way to do it, right? If you have other ways of doing it, you want to buy an airplane and have it circle around that's a way to do it. As long as you're not physically hurting people, not as long as you're keeping it above board, voicing your frustration, you're doing it right in my book. Somebody said, "Oh, you're against the boycott." I'm not against the boycott at all. Yeah. I think I understand 100% why they're doing it.
Yeah, I've kind of not purposely, but like probed and asked some questions, kind of, and I don't know if that puts me in hot water or makes it seem like I'm against the boycott. I actually respect the heck out of the leaders for doing that, because that's a hard thing to do.
Super hard.
To not show up to games when this is such a big part of your culture, making the tifos, going, jumping up and down for 90 minutes, holding, fundraisers and all these different things. This is a lot of work and a lot of passion and a lot of love that goes into this. And to say we're going to remove that part of our life, that's a big commitment, and that says a lot. The point that you make that I think is valid, and again, I hope this doesn't come across the wrong way, but to that point, you don't want the fans who running the club. And, I think sometimes because of all the, sweat equity that a lot of these supporters put in, they think, well, I do all this for the club that, my fandom is more important than your fandom. So, yeah. I show up to the games and I yell for 90 minutes. So just because you sit and watch, the players move around, my fandom is more important than yours. And that's not necessarily how it works either. Yeah. Is that, one supporter isn't at a higher level than the other because of, respect all the work and all the hard effort that goes into it. But at that same thing, like, we can't be looking down or pushing buttons of other people who are choosing to do it a different way. I don't think there's not a correct way to fan. There's a group for everyone, and there are groups with different styles. And I think, I think that needs to be respected as well. And I think at first when the statement came out, I'm not going to say I was disappointed with like the forgiving language, like change needed at the highest level, or people could choose to attend the games. I almost felt like it can go the other direction, like name names. And I appreciate Andrew when he came on. They said we want Chris Klein and Jovan Karasi. They said their demands, and that wasn't necessarily in the statement, but that position was made clear to the front office. So, and the same thing with the boycott. It's if you don't want to boycott, then we're not the group for you. I think that's a line in the sand that they can't draw. I understand that you have to, that's not going to please everyone. You kind of have to, I'm Mr. both sides. You have to play on both sides because you can't alienate someone, but I wouldn't be opposed to that because that does, you can use harsher language. That really dictates the point that you want to make is this is how serious, this is what it means to us that we, if you're not standing with us on this, then we don't want you standing with us moving forward. And so that's, I don't know.
It's tough. I know.
Am I
it's not easy.
I don't think I'm bashing the groups there. It's just it's so disappointing and frustrating that it's gotten to this point.
I think having an honest conversation about it is fine. I mean, all this stuff. I thought Andrew was, and I really respect the heck out of Andrew. So I mean, if you're looking at me as somebody, I've told you. I think I told everybody before he came on. That he's been around and he knows that I have a respect for his history and how much he's put into things. But Andrew was very clear in sort of the whole, we're not going to sit there. It's not like you're crossing a picket line. We're not going to sit there and beat you up, the whole deal. It's like, we'd like you to join us because we think that, having more people and more voices together is a good thing. And if you don't, and that's fine, go ahead and do your thing. I think I like that tactic with sort of how it is. So
yeah, and that's why I wasn't critiquing it. It was just one of those things, like I felt like that could have been an opportunity to do that, but I totally understand, and I think it is the more not that it's politically, but it's like the right political move that you're not alienating anyone, you're not pushing anyone out. That's the right. The groups made the right move by doing that. Now that being said, E-Super mentioned a point, like when I mentioned about Zlatan, is that that sold out games that got people to show up, and if people are showing up to games, then it's not going to matter. My brother made a great point, and I want to shout him out here. Is he's a USC grad, and we've had USC football season tickets, and there was a large point there when they had Clay Helton as their coach, and trust me, this is related to the LA Galaxy. He was just a mediocre coach, and they were coming off of the sanctions, and they just wanted someone to not, raise concern and not do anything that's against the rules, and just kind of keep the program. And if they weren't winning games, that's great. You would just want to be somewhat relevant. Well, post COVID, they look at the Coliseum, and they're now getting 30,000 people. When a bad day for USC was, maybe 60,000, maybe 50,000, but you could pack that place to 75, 80, sometimes, I've been to games where it's 90K there. And when they saw that there's nobody in the stands, they're not relevant anymore. They lost that. Then they went out and they got an all-star head coach, a 5-star, to bring in the recruits, to make the program, bring it to relevance again. And I think the boycott can absolutely make that sin. When you look and you see empty stands and people are not showing up, people are not buying tickets, that's people are going to feel that. People are going to take notice. And for the casual fans who are not in the supporters group, they're going to say, hey, where's the groups that are here? If you're not super into it, you just kind of have your tickets as entertainment. Where's the groups that are playing the drums? Where's the groups that are always up here and getting hyped? Where is it? And then that's going to cause more concern. And then maybe they join in on the boycott, because I think that it does make a stand, and it is effective. So that's not to say that the boycott is not effective, and that, when you say, the players shouldn't be making decisions, but boycotts like this can be effective, and they can be what you need to get the point across. And so from that perspective, I totally respect it, because that they are going to, it is going to be noticeable. And one of the things that we heard, secondhand from the meetings is that, ticket sales were something that were applauded, and sponsorships and all those things. The thing that rubs me there is we have eyes also. I've seen Galaxy games. I've watched them on TV. I've been there in person. The place isn't packed. There are games that were sold out, but it's not like the Galaxy was selling out every single weekend, that every Wednesday was filled. Ticket sales, are they better? I was there circa 2011, 2012, 2013. That place was buzzing every single week, every single game. It's definitely, it's a different era now, but it's definitely not that. So to say sales are higher than they ever been, but you look at the butts and seats, you look at the atmosphere, it's not the same. They're not at that level that it's worth renewing someone.
No, but I also say that certainly built as the team played better towards the end of the year, right?
Of course.
And when you go to the playoff game and that place, it's packed, right? Like the whole deal. So, I mean, listen, you can two sides this thing to death, and, we have for a lot of this. It's going to continue, and we're going to have to watch it, and that's all there is to it. I want to get to Gary gave us a $10 super chat, so we push that. $10 super chat from Flipman. Props to Damian for stopping by, and props to the COG for doing what they do. Love you all. Thank you. Same back to you. We appreciate that. Listen, we're going to continue to talk about this. One of the reasons we're independent. One of the reasons that that I have never sold this to anybody, even though we've been asked and done a whole bunch of things, is because I enjoyed the independence of it. We're allowed to talk about what we want to talk about. Nobody's going to tell us not to talk about things. And so we will continue to do that. And, hey, we'll all live with the consequences, I guess. There's real world consequences for everything. So that's life. I want to get to...
I don't think I'm going to get a pickleball set.
No?
I don't think I'm going to get a pickleball set after that, all that.
You can have mine. I'll give you
all
mine.
Right.
That's fine. That's not a problem. I wanted to talk quickly about Jalen Neal making his U.S. men's national team debut. And then obviously you had Dejan Joveljic on the Serbia side. By the way, this picture that they put with Dejan playing chess, just such a home run. That's whatever this is, whatever style this is, I'm all in. It looks like almost like a fashion magazine, right? Like just the way that I don't know where they went to shoot this. Did they just paint people's faces on a thing that has already, do I not know this? Is this like an iconic thing?
Are you pulling our leg here?
I don't know.
This is from a Louis Vuitton ad with Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo that came out.
One,
you really didn't know that?
I would never see that. Why would I ever see that? Do either of those guys play on the LA Galaxy?
But that's what makes it even better. That's why this is funny. That's why this is an A+, is because they took the Messi Ronaldo, chess match, and then they redid it. They recreated it.
Okay,
so
good. It makes sense.
Wow. You really didn't know that?
I know nothing really in the grand scheme of thing, and I think people are starting to realize that about me. I know nothing. I try really hard. I can gather information, but that's a world that is not mine. I've never paid attention to anything basically outside the LA Galaxy. You know why? Because there's so much to pay attention to with the LA Galaxy. I haven't had time to look outside for some of those things. So that's my little dungeon that I live in. So thank you.
But it does fit perfect with the chess master Dejan and everything that goes on. But yeah, let's talk about them. They had, feel like, Jalen had a great showing, and then Dejan, getting the start and being in the mix. Yeah. So I thought we saw good things.
Dejan wearing the captain's armband at one time too. So Dejan got the start. Overall, Jalen Neal's going to get knocked because there was two pretty big mistakes. One of them led to a goal, one of them didn't. But there were two big mistakes. He's going to get penalized for that, especially as a defender. They love to penalize defenders, like whenever you look at ratings and everything else for a mistake on a goal, as they should. It's a big deal, and it happens. Jalen is going to make mistakes. This showing was wonderful. It was perfect. It was probably exactly really what you wanted for him. He got tested. These are not full strength A squads on either side. Most of these guys had never played together before. Jalen's playing in a position next to somebody he's never played with Walker Zimmerman. I think he played with Aaron Long next to him for a little bit. He's never played with those guys before. He doesn't, this is all so new for him. I think he had 101 passes in the game, played 90 minutes. That's what you want for Jalen Neal. There are going to be people who want to make it more than it was too. And I don't want it was a Camp Cupcake call-up. Now, Jalen Neal's a very promising young defender. He's 19 years old. There is still so much time for him to develop into a quality center back. You want to see him getting time. You want to see him putting things in. But Jalen did exactly what he was supposed to do in this, and I think everybody should be stoked and excited for him. That's bottom line is that's huge for confidence and everything else, because Greg Vanney already called him out, said he's going to play a role on this team. He's going to be tested in the preseason. He's going to have these chances to make his impact on the first team. This is part of that, and letting him know right now that he can compete on that stage. I love that for Jalen Neal, because I think sky's the limit. I mean, it really is, because we always talk, Eric, we talk about the Galaxy and how they don't necessarily allow offensive players to ever make really a dent on the first team. Who makes the biggest dent for the LA Galaxy coming out of the development academy? It's defenders.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is the guy.
Going back to what I said about like passing the eyeball test, that to me, when he got those preseason looks last year, was it last year or 2 years ago? I think last year. That's he looked so calm on the ball, and he, always, with all the chaos and being a young player and in that environment, that you can see that rattle and shake players, who have more experience, but he always looks like he has it under control. And to me, that's the part that I take away. The eyeball test of it is, of course, you're going to make mistakes. Those things are going to happen, but on a field with Walker Zimmerman and Aaron Long, there were moments where Jalen Neal was the best center back on the field. And so, I think the first half, looked like, it was all roses for Jalen. It's like, man, Jalen really does not look out of place. It's really, fantastic there. So it's one of those things it was super impressive to see, the calm and to see the growth that he's going to be able to get from that. Cause you're right. He's getting, put in higher pressure situations, for the national team than he has been in his club yet. So it's just one of those things, but Greg kind of teased it that, he's probably going to get those pushes this season. And you saw on display what he's going to be able to bring. Now, the positives of that is you pair him with, Sega Coulibaly and Martin Caceres, then you're going, okay, now he's going to get that experience on top of it, being paired with one of those guys. I think that's something to be impressive that we can look forward to.
Now let's go to the flip side, because you have Dejan Joveljic. I am really starting to believe, Eric, that Dejan Joveljic is about to have his season with the LA Galaxy. And people go, well, how could that possibly be? Because Greg's not going to play two forwards. I, for the life of me, cannot see how Chicharito stays on the field as much as he did last year, and with all the competitions as well. Dejan Joveljic is going to get his chances. This is it. Everybody who wanted Dejan to come in, I have a feeling this really is it. I could see 18 to 2,000 minutes for somebody like Dejan Joveljic this year, and that could be huge for his development. He is such a confident player. Watching him play in this game, again, his confidence it exudes. It pumps out of him. You can see how he played. Again, 90-minute performance. He had a very good rating whenever you look at FOTMob and sort of where he was at, a 7.2. It's excellent. From that, you look at the other side with Jalen Neal and how that went down, and you're like, okay, a 6. Again, you're going to get penalized heavily for giving up a goal in the situation that he did. So, I mean, Jalen Neal probably lost 1.5 to 2 points, it feels like, probably just in that one movement. So all together, you look at those two guys, you're talking about guys who have confidence going into the preseason, who got the training, got to play some, international games and do that. And with Jalen Neal, he gets another chance at Dignity Health Sports Park on a Saturday. The LA Galaxy, by the way, I look back. The calendar at one point had the Charlotte game on a Friday, the 27th. It is now on Saturday, so they're playing the Charlotte game against the LA Galaxy. That preseason game is happening on Saturday. It looks like same day as the U.S. men's national team. They're hosting Colombia, I believe, at Dignity Health Sports Park, where there are 24,000 tickets already sold. I have to imagine it's all the Jalen Neal fans, and certainly not the Colombians who are going to make Dignity Health Sports Park their second home. So
that's the other part of it is, LA being what it is. I think any country you play against, you're going to, get a heavy draw from another country, but especially, a Central or South American draw, probably more than Serbia. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bigger turnout.
There were 12 people at that game on Wednesday night. So I can certainly see a bigger turnout. And like I said, they said 24,000 tickets already sold, which is almost a sellout for just the regular seats. 25.6 right in there, 625 or something like that. I have my chart somewhere. I can pull it back out. So that was that. But it wouldn't be a Dejan sighting without a Dejan saying. And Total Galaxy captured this. Andy Diosa, who's an excellent reporter, was talking to the Serbian head coach on Dejan Joveljic, and the Serbian coach says he's the future of the Galaxy and the Serbian national team. High praise, certainly, from the Serbian coach. And then he asked Dejan how bad he wanted to score again in this stadium. Dejan being Dejan, and he can never be more Dejan than he can. It's like Max Dejan. This is him, right? This is Joveljic at his best. He smiled to Andy Diosa and said, "This season, like I usually do." Right? Like he's like, I'm coming. Don't worry, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna score plenty of goals, just like I always do. I own this place. I own them. Like it's the perfect sort of Joveljic ending to that. So I enjoyed that. Yeah. What'd you think of Joveljic?
I thought he displayed everything that's made him a fan favorite in LA Galaxy land. He has that hunger and that edge of just wanting it. I really wanted to see him get a goal, even though I'm an American and rooting for the USA. But he just displayed that. And sometimes it almost works against him. He almost gets himself hyped up so much that it takes him out of the game.
Right.
But you don't want that to leave him, because that's what makes him good, and that's what makes you root for him. Is he has that, like, I'm going to score. I'm going to get after it. Give me the ball. Give me the dang ball, and I'm going to put it in the back of the net, and then I'm going to point to my watch, and I'm going to point, pound my chest, and I'm going to point to the name of the back of my jersey and let you know who I am. 'Cause he's just someone who's really eager to prove himself, and I hope he gets the spotlight. Hope while simultaneously hoping nothing bad happens to Chicharito. You want him to stay as healthy as possible, but you want to see that kid shine, and he everything that has made the Galaxy fans root for him in this past season. You saw that on display in this game. Like you saw that hunger, you saw that passion, and then of course the quotes after the game. Someone mentioned, it's hard not to love him. I think Alexander mentioned it. It's hard not to love him, and that's true. You watch him play, it's like, man, I like this guy. I want to see them succeed. There's a lot of players that win the hearts and minds of LA Galaxy fans, and he's one of them for sure.
I'll close this with Dejan, just in terms of what he does. If you don't think that Greg Vanney isn't, like, you just talked about him being so motivated, and like he always has the chip on his shoulder, he always wants the ball, and if you don't think Greg Vanney is constantly pushing those buttons, then you're not here. You need to be playing checkers, because chess is being played right now. Dejan understands it as well. He knows what to do. This is not a guy who, like, you say, Dejan, I'm going to need you to come off the bench. He's not a guy who's like, well, then I'm not going to play. No. Dejan's like, I am very angry. I don't like you. I don't like your family, but I will go out there and I will score, and unfortunately, that's such a characterization, but like with him, it's like that simple. Like, I don't care what you tell me. If you give me 1 minute, I'll score a goal. I do not care. And I want to start every single game. As a matter of fact, I want to play 90 minutes. And if we go 120 minutes, I want to play 120 minutes. And if after we're done playing 120 minutes, if you want to go run around for 60 minutes, I'm going to be there doing that too. So he's really exciting, and he very well could be the future of the LA Galaxy. So again, I feel like this is his season. I know lots of people are going to sit there and criticize Vanney, and hey, I certainly thought that Chicharito would not be playing 2,800 minutes as like he did last year. But I could see Dejan playing a lot of minutes coming up. So, hey, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Can he play winger?
I don't know.
We need wingers.
I mean, that's what I heard. That's what people are telling me. $5 super chat from Tito. Hey, fellas, my son and I are looking forward to the first preseason game next week. Will there not be any people in the supporter group sections? The boycott has started. They have, Andrew was on the show and said that they would not show up to preseason games. If there are people there are people who are either abiding by the boycott, not abiding by the boycott. So there may be people there. I can't tell you how many people. I don't know how effective it's going to be. I should be able to be there to sort of see that for my own eyes, and we can talk about that afterwards. But yeah, as of right now, for the supporters groups, they say that they're not showing up. And so we'll see whether or not that's from the leadership. And that's not a directive to all the supporters in that supporter group. They get to choose to do whatever they want. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think you might see some bodies there, but I think the biggest thing that they've mentioned is the drums, the flags, that will not be present. And that's obviously, if you've been to games and watched them do their thing, that's a huge part of what they do. So if you just see it, with a few people in there, like they're sitting in any other section in the stadium, that you may see that. But as far as bringing the atmosphere that they normally bring, that will not be there.
All right. Let's close it up. The one rumor that we had talked about a little bit earlier on Monday, Carl Toko Kambi, his loan deal to Renew. I don't know. With French, I feel like they just get lazy and they don't say the rest of the name, and that's how you do French. But anyway, that loan deal's now complete. He's not coming to the LA Galaxy. So that was the one rumor we talked about. Good job, everybody. Scared him right out of it, and now he's staying in France. He's going on loan. Interesting. It would have been, I think, an interesting fit. But Fabrizio Romano tells you the truth. Fabrizio. I did the hand gesture because you're supposed to.
Here we go.
Yes, yeah. Here we go. Fabrizio had it on that, so that's that. Real quick, looking at the roster, I have the LA Galaxy at 24 players. That's 6 players short of a full roster. Remember, spots 29 and 30 are occupied by homegrown players as well. Damian talked about it. Two major sort of acquisitions, and then probably some backup and some depth pieces in there as well, you're looking at probably 2 to 4 signings, and that probably gets it done. But that's where the LA Galaxy sit right now, 24 and 7 of 8 international slots. It's been a long time since the LA Galaxy have been under on international slots. They currently are. They have 8 available to them. They have 7 filled. We'd imagine that at least one of the big transfers that's coming in is going to be an international slot, which would take them to 8 of 8. And then you'd have to either look at domestic or you'd have to look at purchasing international slots as well.
Yeah, I don't think Sega Coulibaly makes that move out of the kindness of his heart or without being nudged in that direction because of other plans. So I would imagine those international slots are going to get filled.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. And so that is your roster as of right now. Although we should point out Eric Zabaleta not on this roster right now because they haven't officially put him on, but Greg Vanney has already mentioned him as center back depth. Likely he will be there, so now that puts you at 25 with 5 spots left. So pay attention to that. Final thing, and just a little bit, the LA Galaxy launched their birthday club. This is something I've heard the LA Kings have been doing in the past, and basically you sign up, you tell them when your birthday is, and they'll give you 2 complimentary tickets. There's a whole bunch of restrictions, there's a whole bunch of time frames, all sorts of things that you have to abide by, and then there's also a discount on additional tickets as well. So if you are interested in that, you can go and sign up with the LA Galaxy birthday club. All right, Eric, are we good? I don't want to.
Do you want to sign up for the birthday club? So we're summer birthdays.
I'm good.
You're good to go.
I get in. Right. As of right now, I get in. We'll see what. Maybe I'll have to. We keep talking about the boycott. Maybe I'll have to sign up for some birthday club stuff.
But I will say that's the type of move that sometimes will get made fun of, like people doing everything, to get butts in seats. But this is a way to get people in the stadium. And I just always go back to that, like, bringing AYSO teams or youth club teams to come watch games, giving away tickets there. How many people have we heard that their first experience and why they're LA Galaxy fans is because they came with a team and do that? So, if you got free tickets for your birthday and you went to someone's birthday party and that was what got you in the door to joining the LA Galaxy family, I'm not opposed to moves like that and making things like that happen.
All right. Yeah, that's it. I don't want to belabor any of these points. I think we're good. Big shout out to Damian for coming on and at least giving us that good info. So you're now up to date as much as possible with where the LA Galaxy sit. And, Greg Vanney expecting to make some moves. And, because there's time's running out. So, yeah, we expect that. But things are in the works. Things are moving. So we should get to finally see some of these things going. So, that's it. There is the possibility, and at least I heard about this a little bit, and so it's not 100% sure, but there is a possibility that some of these preseason games could be streamed. Certainly the ones out at Coachella have the ability to be streamed, and I would imagine being the LA Galaxy and AEG are sort of the hosts, that they will have their games streamed on there. So there's a good chance that you'll be able to watch those preseason games from there. The whole idea is to make that a media hub for that.
I know you're sharing that because you probably have some information that's going to be an option, but where my brain goes is, you have the ability to stream it there, but because it's the LA Galaxy, you probably won't see any games. My brain was going the opposite direction. Yeah. So we'll see.
I'm just telling you what the rumor was at least a week ago. Who knows if that's...
It looks likely.
That's
I know
still
people
correct.
in the chat are asking, is it going to be available? So it looks likely for at least the Coachella games. I don't know about the other ones.
Yeah, there's a possibility that those will be. So you have the February 4th game coming up that's at Dignity Hill Sports Park. And then you have the Coachella games that are played. And then you have the final LA Galaxy preseason game before the season starts. So all that stuff has the possibility of being streamed. Certainly the Coachella ones seem like more than likely they could be. Not finalized, still the thing. I like to give you guys rumors. If it doesn't happen, then you guys can always know, and you can say, well, at least I knew that they were trying. And so, if it didn't happen, I feel like our listeners can handle the disappointment of not getting, I don't tell my son that we're taking him to Disneyland soon, because what if it rains that day? And do you want to deal with a 3-year-old who didn't get to go to Disneyland because it's raining or something like that? I don't want to deal with that. You don't want to deal with that. Nobody wants to deal with that. He's in the mood right now, Eric, anyway, where he tells me, I go, I love you, Jakey. He goes, I only love mama. And I'm like, oh, okay, good. That's good. And my wife goes, he's 3, relax. I'm like, yeah, he's not saying it to you. He's saying it to me. So yeah, just relax, just let it go. The whole deal. So he's dug in right now. It's fine. It's fine.
We've got pretty strict lines in this house. We got boys team versus girls team. Yeah. It's a pretty hard line in the sand here in the Hammer house.
I should be fine. Really, I should be fine. Eventually, I will be fine. I will say, as a side note, we were playing catch today just before he went to bed. I was teaching him how to play catch because he's 3 and he's still sort of learning that stuff. So I was pretty jazzed about that. So he was catching.
Makes all the difference. All those little moments.
He was catching. He was throwing it back. He was catching. He was throwing it back. He would drop it. He'd pick it up. Be disappointed that he dropped it, which is my favorite thing. He'd catch it, want to do it again. So, and he cried whenever we stopped. So there you go. Whoa. Will says, Josh, for the boycott, no pupusas. I'm not allowed to have pupusas. Who said? Nobody said anything.
You got to stand strong. You got it. That's the rules.
I'm going to buy pupusas before I go. That's what I'm going to do. All right, good. I'm glad we figured that out. All right, I'm done. If you're done, Eric, you good?
I'm good.
Right.
It's a trying time for Galaxy fans right now, so let's get out of here.
All right, tell people where they can find you. Let's go.
All right, friendly reminder that I am now Hammer EV9 on everything. So Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. That's Hammer EV and the number 9.
All right, if you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at Guesman. Head on over to at Galaxy Podcast for the podcast stuff. cornerofthegalaxy.com is where you can find all of our shows, all that fun stuff. We'll be back next week. Maybe we'll have some updates. Certainly we'll get to check on Mr. Kevin Baxter and see, make sure he's still doing well by next Monday. So we'll have some more information and updates for you as it goes along. Preseason game coming up for the LA Galaxy on Saturday against Charlotte. I would imagine check the socials for any of those updates. All right, for Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening. You've been watching to our little Corner of the Galaxy. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.